Venezuela and China are forging new energy ties, and activists march in Mexico demand an end to femicide. Those are our headlines. My name is Reagan, and welcome to From the South. Thank you for joining us. Venezuela and China are moving ahead in the sphere of energy and economic cooperation. That's according to Venezuela's Vice President for Planning, Ricardo Menendez. In an exclusive interview with teleSUR, Menendez, who was in China for meetings with government officials last week, said that agreements signed between the two nations will strengthen mining and oil exploitation in Venezuela.
President Maduro's decree regarding the development of the Orinoco River Belt and the mining sector. In both cases, meetings were held for China's participation. We even have a loan of $50 billion for investment in the oil industry, a topic that is extremely important and which is advancing.
In a similar vein, energy ministers and diplomats from the Union of South American Nations bloc, UNASUR, have scheduled a meeting for this Friday to discuss oil prices. According to Ecuador's new foreign minister, Guillaume Long, the meeting in Quito is seeking to bring unity and solidarity around Latin America in terms of the oil economy.
All of the oil-producing and exporting countries of Latin America and the Caribbean will be present at this meeting in Quito on Friday. This is going to be an important step. One of my first actions as foreign minister is to adopt a common position in Latin America. Latin America contains a third of all oil reserves in the world. We need to stand by the virtues of integration and work together with a third of the world's oil production.
5 days after the assassination of indigenous leader Berta Caceres, the Honduras state has not presented any advances in the investigation, which may implicate transnational corporations.
Hernandez in Honduras, transnational energy companies have benefited from a government that offers partnership for exploitation and military control in the areas where communities oppose to these projects.
Berta had already been persecuted by the state. The police that supposedly was to protect her had arrested her years before and had created false evidence to try and send her to jail. That is why we say that the state was responsible for her assassination, by action or by omission.
In 2014, the Lenca Indigenous Council of Honduras, COPIN, led by Berta Caceres, tried to enter the installations of the companies that were building a dam in the Gualcarque River. During the confrontation, a member of COPIN was killed, and days later, Berta was captured. In 2015, after she won the Goldman International Environmental Prize, she received protection by the Honduran state. She supposedly had the protection of the National Police last Thursday when she was murdered.
It is dangerous to protect the rivers. Week after week, energy contracts are approved in the National Congress, justified as part of a needed change in energy production to open space for clean energy. We oppose these contracts because the majority are dirty.
Berta Caceres was buried in La Esperanza in southwest Honduras on Saturday, the same day the ruling National Party began its national convention, where they announced the intentions of President Juan Hernandez to search the re-election and continue with his current security and energy production policies. Caceres' assassination has only polarized even more two political positions that have been in confrontation since the 2009 coup d'etat. Gerardo Torres, teleSUR.
Weather system El Nino is continuing to wreak havoc in Bolivia. Authorities say that up to 30,000 families have been affected by adverse weather conditions across the country. Already 19 people in Bolivia have been killed in floods and landslides since the start of the year. Our correspondent Dimitri O'Donnell traveled to the village of Chupapina near La Paz to see the devastation there caused by a recent landslide.
I'm in the village of Chupapina near La Paz. It used to be a thriving community. Up to 10 or 12 families used to live here up until last week, when a major landslide caused destruction, split the village down the middle. We can see some of the destruction right here. This used to be a church, estimated to be about 100 years old, according to locals. It's now been left completely exposed because of the landslide, and it's going to be knocked down or demolished any day now because it is posing a health and safety risk here in Chupapina. Over on this side, this used to be an event centre for families and their children who used to come from La Paz to enjoy the countryside and the scenery, take hikes and walks. There used to be a swimming pool which has also been collapsed because of the landslide. All of this area has been abandoned by businesses and by locals, and nobody knows exactly when they can return. According to the authorities, so far this year in Bolivia, El Nino has affected about 30,000 families right across the country. According to the civil defense, 19 people have been left dead because of El Nino, because of adverse weather. And they say up to 30,000 hectares of crops have been destroyed, leaving many farmers and the agriculture industry very vulnerable for the year ahead. And according to the authorities, it could only get worse as the season progresses.
Peruvian presidential candidate Keiko Fujimori has been accused of giving gifts to her followers as part of her campaign. She could be banned from competing in the race, joining two other banned candidates. Peru's presidential contest is set for April 10th. Activists in Mexico are demanding an end to femicide in the country. We turn now live to our correspondent Clayton Khan in Mexico City for more on demonstrations held there this Monday in Ciudad Juarez. Clayton, hi, it's great to chat with you. Can you just tell us firstly, what are the protesters demanding?
Reagan, the protests were actually held here in Mexico City, in the capital outside of the Interior Ministry, where families of victims of femicides, of violence committed towards women who have been killed, activists and social organizations, they were demanding that the federal government, or they demand that the federal government apply deeper measures, more effective measures in reducing gender-based violence and femicides. Now, most of these individuals came from the state of Mexico, which is the state that is centrally located in the country, right next to the Mexican capital of Mexico City, and they are demanding that the state apply further measures, more so than what they did 8 months ago, which was apply the so-called gender alert in 11 of the state's 152 municipalities. Now, these activists and the families of victims say that over the course of those 8 months, nothing has actually really occurred in making the situation better. In fact, they say that more than 80 women have been killed in those 11 municipalities since the so-called gender alert was applied, which is reportedly supposed to go to take root measures to fight gender-based violence, educate the population, as well as incarcerate or bring to justice those who are responsible for the crimes.
Clayton, has there yet been a response by the government to the protest today? And if you can give an overview of the femicide there, especially in Ciudad Juarez, and what is being done by the government to confront it?
Well, from what we understand, there's been no official response to the protests that were held outside of the Interior Ministry today. Again, like I mentioned, 8 months ago, the gender alert, which was applied in 11 municipalities, 152 out of 152 of the state of Mexico, that was taken up due to pressure by activists. Overall, for the past 20 years, the term femicide has been utilized by activists, by feminist organizations and social organizations, as well as the families of victims, to describe the situation of gender-based violence and violence that ultimately ends in taking the life of women here in Mexico. And over the course of that 20 years, many activists and families say that little has actually been done to stop this situation. That in actuality, civil organizations have put the number that on average 7 women are killed every 24 hours here in Mexico.
Wow, serious numbers. Clayton, thanks so much for that update. We definitely appreciate it. And as Tuesday is International Women's Day, we bring you a preview of this special video on women fighting back against violence and discrimination in Latin America. The entire video has been posted on teleSUR English's Facebook page, so make sure you check it out.
Yo estuve ahí y tengo 16 impactos de bala de goma por cubrir a mi pibe de 8 años.
Si vamos en una protesta, pues no falta, ¿verdad?, quien quiera acosarnos sexualmente. Eso, sin embargo, también hay mucha motivación, hay una nueva ola, una nueva generación de mujeres que se están levantando.
Que nosotros las mujeres somos muchísimo más valientes.
Michigan's primary nominating contest is one day away, and the Democratic presidential hopefuls are in the state to campaign for votes. The candidates faced off on Sunday night for an eventful debate, which saw both Sanders and Clinton trade shots over the economy, campaign finance, and establishment politics. Sanders made his continued appeal that Clinton is too connected to Wall Street and special interests to be chosen as the Democratic candidate for presidency.
I believe, in all due respect to my good friend, Secretary Clinton, that it is too late for establishment politics and establishment economics. It is too late for a corrupt campaign finance system and super PACs that raise enormous amounts of money from special interests. We need in this country a political revolution where ordinary people stand up and reclaim the government that men and women fought and died for.
And we turn now to our Washington correspondent, Bianca Pellis, for more on the Democratic primary. Hi, Bianca. How are you doing? What was the significance of the debate last night, and more importantly, the importance of the Michigan primaries on both campaigns?
Thank you very much, Reagan. Well, the importance of last night's debate was that it was in Flint, Michigan. As most of our viewers may know, this is a city that has been affected by a water crisis, and this is something that is still happening in the city. It has not yet been resolved completely. Therefore, many of the people who attended this debate wanted answers from the candidates as to how they would solve this issue and with what time frame they would do so. So of course, some of the viewers actually got an opportunity to ask questions to the candidates, and the majority of these questions had to do with the water crisis and the way that it has thus far been handled and how these two candidates would handle it. Now, as far as the importance of the primary voting that will take place tomorrow, it is interesting to see that Michigan has a trend of not necessarily being a Democratic or a Republican state in the general election, and usually in the past 7 primary that they have voted on, the candidate who won Michigan was actually the one who ended up being the nominee. So it is an interesting trend that they have in that state, and it will be significant to see after the answers that the viewers received from the candidates last night, which way they will go in tomorrow's voting.
It was a phenomenal debate last night. If I can ask you a personal question, Bianca, who do you think, or rather, what is the word on the street in terms of who took away that debate?
I'm sorry, Reagan, I couldn't really hear what your question was.
What is the word on the street in terms of who won the debate last night?
Well, the media outlets have always kind of claimed that Hillary Clinton won. They're claiming that she did because of she pointed out this whole automotive business industry situation and a vote by Bernie Sanders many, many years ago. However, there have also been people who have claimed that Bernie Sanders won the debate, that he was really sure in his stances. So I think there was no clear winner in last night's debate.
As always, Bianca, it's great speaking with you. We'll touch base another time.
Thank you very much, Reagan.
Moving on now, at the migration summit held earlier today in Belgium, NATO announced that they will expand their anti-trafficking mission into Turkish and Greek waters. The military organization has said, however, that their mission is not meant to stop or push back migrants at sea.
Good evening. The Secretary General and the Prime Minister will have short opening statements.
We are expanding the area of activity into the territorial waters
of only those rescued in Turkish waters.
This is a humanitarian operation, not a military operation, but we need the capacity of NATO in order to prevent new...
Other developments out of the EU summit with Turkey's Prime Minister is the closing of the Balkans migrant route. Turkey will additionally receive over $3 billion more from the EU for its help to tackle the refugee crisis. Turkey also requested faster visa-free travel for its citizens. At least 45 people, including 7 civilians, were killed in Tunisia in several attacks near the Libyan border. Authorities have imposed a curfew and have closed the border and the main road to the rest of the country. A suicide bomber has killed at least 16 people and injured 23 more in northwest Pakistan. A Taliban faction claimed the attack as revenge for the hanging of one of its assassins last week. With just a day to go before the legal deadline, relatives of a dozen Chinese passengers aboard missing flight MH370 have filed suits against Malaysia Airlines. The cases were filed at a Beijing court. The second anniversary of the plane's disappearance is March 8th. Temperatures across the northern hemisphere hit more than 2 degrees Celsius above normal ranges last week for the first time in recorded history. A rise of 2 degrees is said to be the tipping point for when temperatures become dangerous for humans. The child survivor of a West Bank arson attack will get to meet the Real Madrid soccer team. Noha Razin files this report.
The 5-year-old only survivor of a West Bank arson attack will meet world-famous soccer team Real Madrid in mid-March, according to the Palestinian Football Association. Ahmed al-Dawabsha lost his entire family, including his parents and his 18-year-old month brother Ali, after Jewish settlers set fire to his family home in Doma village in the West Bank city of Nablus in July 2014.
Real Madrid hosting Ahmed al-Dawabsha is such a good step. The child did spend a long time in the hospital receiving medical treatment, and this will help improve his psychological state. Ahmed has the right to live in peace and safety just like all the children in the world. This move also represents a change in the position of the Western world towards the Palestinian cause. I hope their support for Palestine and the Palestinian children continues until peace prevails across the world.
Chairman of the Palestinian Football Association, Jibril Rjoub, said in a press release that the Spanish giant showed deep empathy with Ahmed after a photo of him wearing his favorite team's shirt in hospital surfaced on social media. A campaign for the orphaned child to meet his favorite football player, Cristiano Ronaldo, achieved progressing international support over the past few months. The idea was initiated by Real Madrid's fans club in Palestine and was also welcomed by the club's management after information that the boy spent much of his time in the hospital watching his biggest sports idol Ronaldo. Noha Razin, teleSUR TV, Palestine.
The 44th annual Iditarod Trail Dog Sled Race took place in Alaska and was attended by teams from around the world. Mushers and dog sled teams embarked on the first leg of the race, which is nearly 1,000 miles long through the state's unforgiving wilderness. The winner will take home a cash prize of over $50,000 plus a new pickup truck. "40 years ago, 2 weeks after the Soweto uprising, the Johannesburg Market Theatre was established. It was one of the first institutions where blacks and whites worked together in the otherwise segregated South Africa. It became a place where barriers were broken and where the untold stories of South African life were given a stage. And that's how we wrap our news this evening. On Monday, my name is Reagan. For more on these stories, you can visit our website, telesurtv.net/English. For teleSUR English, my name is Reagan. Have a great evening. Bye.